Welcome to Implicit Bias. I'm Caleb Morse. Kavan's not here. Oh, wait, we can fix that. Welcome to, is that better? Thank y'all for tuning in via YouTube. I think we're on Facebook, all the other stuff, and then all of our wonderful radio sponsors and radio stations. Thank y'all for tuning in and spending your Saturday with us. If you're listening to us on podcast, that means it could be Friday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. But thanks for tuning in and spending your time with us and going to enjoy some weekly whiskey, cover some, I think they're interesting topics. I think tonight we have some interesting topics. But let's start off. We'll do introductions. Hour one is brought to you by Piper's Haven, 3916 West Congress.
Man, you amaze me.
With Rene Girard,
You
the
amaze
CWAT
me.
himself. I've tried.
Yeah, dude, I'm amazed. It's only been, it took you 4.5 years to
Those
remember?
more than that. I tried.
No, it's only been 4.5 years that we've been doing the show.
Yeah, but I've been trying to learn your address since way before.
Oh, well, yeah, but, too much before that, I was at a different address.
You're right, because it was, 2 years before
It's
that?
6 years I've been at the new location now.
So Rene Girard with Piper's Haven, thank you for being here, brother. We're going to have a great time.
Excuse me, you're doing this wrong.
Oh, wait, we've got an interruption. Oh, it's even got a logo on it. Look, we're official, peeps. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. Joining us at the bar is Jonathan Broussard, right?
That is correct.
And I can never remember the name of your company.
Industrial Fabrication Services.
I would learn this. I should.
4 more years, you'll get it. It's like the address.
And we never did we give you a nickname?
Not that I can recall. And if I do, I plead the fifth.
Okay. And then Acadian as gunsmith, Justin Richard.
Last time I was here, Sam, rest in peace, was in the corner.
Well, now there's someone a little bit more, I think you look official. I mean,
He doesn't have slides on.
no slides.
Yeah, so he is official looking. He's
Walker
dressed.
just needs a liter of cola right now. And
Some Jolt Cola.
what's that restaurant where they're mean to you and everything else? Is it Shenanigans?
Dicks.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love how you made eye contact with me. Bringing that one out. All right. Well, I sent topics out to everybody, and I can't look at them right now because I'm trying to adjust my microphone, and I can't figure that out. So we'll do that later. We'll adjust that. Some of the topics I sent out, there's some of them that are kind of serious, being the Epstein list. Some of that information is still coming out as we're making this recording. The justice.gov, you can go to that website, look at it, and they have the client list. They have the manifests. The masseuse list, which is going to be the victims list, is 100% redacted because these people are victims, right? They were the ones that were used, abused, and I don't know what all was done to these poor people for however much of their life. It does tell us that the youngest one that they know of was 14 years old at the time of the abuse. So as this develops, we'll probably talk about it a little bit. But instead of going off into that deep topic right at the gate, let's bring a little more levity in the beginning. One of the things I sent out was movie quotes. I don't know about y'all out there in the listening ether, but myself, Justin, and I think every other grown man in this room, we can spout off movie quotes way better than we can mathematical equations and our anniversary. So I was curious what everyone's favorite movie quote was, and if any of these movie quotes that were on this list seem familiar to you. So I honestly think if I asked Rene what his favorite movie quote was, it was back probably when they didn't do spoken film.
Yeah, you had piano music behind it. And you had to read it on the screen.
You would do the own voice, like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
But my favorite movie, not necessarily of all time, but I've got a few top ones. I'm a big fan of Boondock Saints. And when I was stationed in South Korea, I fell in love with the movie and memorized pretty much most of it. And there's a prayer in there that starts off and what goes, "And shepherds we shall be for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power have descended forth from thy hand, that our feet may swiftly carry out thy command. And we shall send a river flowing forth to thee, and teeming with shoals shall ever be." And it's talking about them going out and seeking justice in God's name throughout their community. And I would say that prayer, because it's a prayer, I would say that prayer before missions and after missions when I was overseas. And it's always stuck with me. I haven't even said it out loud since probably 2005, maybe. But that's a movie quote that there's so many other good ones. But that's one that just comes to mind right away. So if y'all can think of, I want to spout off, Walker's probably like a 2-year-old movie. It was still a cartoon.
No, mine's Off the Longest Yard.
Oh, really?
Which one? The original or the remake?
Is the remake the one with Adam Sandler?
Yes.
No, that's
the good
the
one?
original.
Yeah.
Can I even say that?
You're the one over there on the board. You can boop yourself.
No, I could say it. Must protect the McNuggets.
Well, you were worried about saying that?
You never know nowadays.
Do you use that quote often?
No. Sometimes, I mean, if we're... No.
Walker's afraid he's going to get a letter now.
Well, I mean, I could say my other favorite movie quote and maybe a lot of letters.
Yeah.
So, what we got up top? What's yours?
Movie quotes in my house is a big deal. Like it's
Okay.
a competition between me and my wife and my kids because we spew them out all the time. You know, my wife will get mad at me and I'll say, "I am William Wallace."
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. But you know, you can't go wrong with you know, Shirley, you're not serious. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Yes.
Oh man, I haven't thought of that. What was
Surely you
Airplane.
jest.
Airplane. Airplane. Yeah.
That and you know, my favorite quote is, "I said I never had much use for one. I didn't say I didn't know how to use one."
Yep. And I knew that movie out the
When
gate.
I just started to quote, you quoted it. Yeah, Quigley Down Under, probably one of my favoriteest movies of all time.
You know what my favorite quote from that movie is? "A dingo ate my baby." Like that is my favorite quote of that entire movie. If y'all haven't seen Quigley Down Under, I mean, Tom Selleck at his finest. His mustache, Walker's still jealous of it.
Yeah, he's trying to get a Quigley
We're all
mustache
jealous
going.
of it.
But you know what? The thing about Quigley though that I really, really liked is the music. I mean, it's big orchestra music, and the whole movie is, oh my God, it just fills the room with when you listen to it on surround sound and that crank it up, because man, that music is just unreal.
Recently did some work on a Browning falling block single shot 4570, which if I'm not mistaken is kind of a derivative of the Sharps,
is.
which
Yeah.
Quigley used.
When I was at one of the SHOT shows, Shiloh Sharps was at the SHOT show, and they had Quigley #2. They made 3 rifles for that movie.
Now, was it 45-110 or 45-190 that was chambered in?
It was 45-110.
110, that
But
was
they also, it's available in 45-70, 45-110, and 45-120.
Yeah, the 120 was a beast.
Yeah.
So what would your favorite quote be there, Justin?
I've had a lot over the years, but unfortunately I can't remember them. Most recently actually comes from a series called Rogue Heroes. It's about the British SAS in World War II. And last episode I watched, they were about to jump out of a plane. They were singing that Irish song, Whiskey in the Jar. Mm-hmm. And the lieutenant colonel, the guy's name is Paddy Main, I believe. Right before he jumps out the door, he says, "Stand and effing deliver." And I'm like, yes. And that kind of resonates with some of what I like to do. Stand up and do something, deliver something of value, fruitful,
yeah.
and productivity,
There was I think it was Fury with Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf, and a few others where they were a tank crew.
Oh, yeah.
And that one had some solid quotes in
Oh,
it, too.
that was a good movie. That was a great movie.
Best job ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we look back, and as guys, we refer to these quotes, and they bring us back. And some of these lines, I mean, it's like modern poetry. You don't come across many men anymore that are poets. And you don't come across many men who enjoy poetry. I'll tell you out loud, I enjoy poetry, and I like to read it. I'm a horrible person when it comes to writing it. But it helps us to relate. It resonates with us, and it can bring certain things out. And these lines have so much resilience to time because it gives us a connection that bridges time, it bridges generations, it bridges moments. And there's so many times whenever these quotes can just drive home a feeling, an emotion, or a fact.
Yeah, you're saying that brings me back to the Patton quote that was on that list, and I can't.
You can't. Well, you can't.
Verbatim, but,
you can't say it on the air. I don't think either.
But not only was that a quote, but that's a real life quote. That's not written for theater. That was something Patton actually said.
Well, and we have all these great leaders of the past, where these were men of action. They were men of renown. They were men who weren't afraid to stand up and do something. I believe it was Teddy Roosevelt gave a speech after being shot, and they called it the Bull Moose speech. And during or after the speech, he holds up his hand covered in blood and says, "I am a bull moose. It'll take more than this to put me down." And he had been shot. There was an assassination attempt. And we're hard pressed to find men like that now.
It's kind of like Trump. Fight, fight, fight.
Yeah.
He had just gotten shot. Now, granted, he grazed his ear, but it's still...
That's still something.
That's still something, and it's close. Like he said, if he wouldn't have turned his head, that's it.
That's a bullet milliseconds from a tomb, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
And these quotes and everything else, it really, it can bring levity to a moment. It can bring joy to a moment. It can bring serious to a moment. And it's when we look at it, we all want to have our own time where it's pivotal, right? Where something we say carries so much weight that everything changes. And I don't know about y'all, but we oftentimes think that we think enough of ourselves that we believe that we're going to be the ones to say it. And when I look at my kids, at raising them and everything I've done, and I look at me growing up with my mom and dad, and then mostly with my grandfather and my grandmother too, and things that they've said, and I'm like, man, the times that they said things that meant the most to them, I'm sure were just insignificant. And I think that's how it goes. We expect that there's going to be a moment in time where we're going to say something or do something that'll change the course of history for our friends, family, and maybe even the world. But yet we never know when it's going to happen. We never know when it's going to arrive. So I think consistency is what we look for. If it's reciting moving quotes consistently, we might get a little tired of you. But it's be consistent. Be the person people look to for advice. Be the person that people look to for solace. Be the person that people look to for guidance, for everything. That's King Solomon was the wisest man of all time, and he didn't get it by all of a sudden one day being wise. He practiced his whole life. So whether it's poetry, whether it's knowledge, whether it's age-old wisdom, learn to memorize something because it really carries weight. It really, really does.
It also brings a time of reflection. You can remember where you heard that quote, who you were with, and who you enjoyed it with, or who you didn't enjoy it with, and reflection of family times, and just delving into past life experiences, and sit back and think a little bit about all that you've been through and all that you're going through, or wherever it may lead you.
Well, my dad used to tell me all kinds of things when I was a kid, and I was going, what is he talking about? But it's amazing as I got older and got in different situations, those things came back to me, and I can remember what my dad said, and I was like, that's what he meant by that. At the time, it didn't mean anything to me, but I remembered it. But later on in life, it comes back to you. So all those quotes actually do count for something.
It's those aha moments. And, I'm sure I can say a quote. And look, I think I've seen the movie one time. And I'm sure when I butcher this horrible quote, everyone's gonna be like, oh, I know the movie. Because it's got to be the most quoted line that anyone knows. And forgive me, because like I said, I'm going to butcher it. But how does he say it? It's like, do or do not, there is no try. I can't do a Yoda voice.
Yeah, I don't
know. I don't even know what he sounds like. I can't do it.
It's do or do not. There is no try. That's the quote.
Justin, can you do a good Yoda voice?
No.
Too deep for that.
Yeah.
But by chance, can you, Walker? No? You want to try?
No, I cannot. I don't even remember what he sounds like. It's been that long.
He sounds like I think he sounds like a frog drowning.
Yeah.
Do you have a button for that? We could do the. But that's got to be one of the most quoted lines out there, I would think, because even someone like me, who I've literally
and
seen
it
once.
makes a lot of sense because either you're going to do it or you don't. Don't try to do it. Do it or don't.
And don't make excuses.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right?
Exactly.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is we all look, and I say we do all look for excuses at one point. And it's understanding that at the end of the day, like Jocko Willink's, some of his books and everything else, and you have I can't think of the name of his book now. I've read it like 4 times. You take extreme ownership. Took me a little while, but you take ownership of the moment, of the time, of the mistake, and the same with the wins. And it's give it your all. And look, sometimes your all isn't enough, and you may not complete the task in its entirety, but give it your all. There are plenty of things that I don't know, and there are plenty of people who remind me of the things that I don't know very, very often. I think old Farva here is one of them. But it's worth giving it your all, no matter what. Even if you know you're going to fail, don't just give up. No one likes a quitter. Give it your all.
It's only wafer thin.
What was that from? That was
Come on. The Meaning of Life. Monty Python.
Yep.
You said failure. That brings to mind another quote. Failure is only an opportunity to improve.
Very good. Yeah.
I don't know if it was in a movie or not.
It was one of those that we've heard, you know? And that's what it is. You know, Einstein, this isn't a movie quote, they asked Einstein to give him advice. He said, well, you asked me 99 ways to make a light. I'll tell you, and you asked me how to succeed, and I'll tell you 99 ways to not make a light bulb, and one way too.
Yeah, Edison.
And I probably butchered that one as well.
Edison.
It was
an
that,
Edison.
Yeah. What I said, Einstein. Yeah, I'm sorry. Einstein didn't make light bulbs.
That's one of them E names.
Yeah. E equals MC squared, Edison, Einstein. Yeah. Different time place. But we have all these moments, and there's all this pent-up knowledge and wisdom in each and every one of us, and it's all just trying to break free. And sometimes it's in the means of a one-liner. Just like a one-line finger. That was like a sausage finger that was waved at me a little while ago. But we'll be right back. Quick break. Talk to you all in just a minute. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. Thank you for watching us on the means that the internet has for you and listening to us on all the wonderful radio sponsors. This is segment 2 of hour 1 of show. I'm going to make this number up, 397,113. Does that sound right, Walker? Like
That sounds like spot on.
I try. You know, I have what they call a pornographic memory.
I don't think that's the right word.
Oh, that was the wrong word? That's a movie quote, by the way. Come on, you didn't even want to laugh at that one? It wasn't even funny to you?
Yeah.
Do I not make
It
you
was
laugh?
something. It was something.
I apologize. Not really. Hour 1 brought to you by the man to my left. I'm not going to reintroduce everybody. Not going to happen. If you want to hear who's here, go back to the first segment. Listen to that one again. If you're on radio, follow us on all the stuffs. So we went from talking about movie quotes and all that great things and how it relates to life to now there's a blog that I used to follow years ago called The Art of Manliness. And some of the skills they talk about and the things they talk about really opened my eyes to things that I had just neglected on my own. And they came out with a list. And I guess I can look at this and see what year this was because this is old. October 9th, 2020. It's 100 skills every man should know. And I posed the question, what skill or knowledge do you possess now that you wish your father, mother, whoever raised you, taught you when you were younger? And I looked at the list and some of the things and that were on there and everything else. One of the things that I wish I'd spent more time teaching my children, and this is an area that I think I lacked and I need to work on, is budgeting. How to budget money, how to balance your checkbook, what that really means, and monitoring your money and understanding that money, while necessary, because we all have bills, your money should work for you. Earning interest, earning something. You know, having a savings account is great, but having that savings account where it can bring a stream of revenue or something to you is even better. Because money, having a rainy day account, you need it. Trust me, you need it. It rains a lot. And especially when you have kids. And having a way to make that money that they used to just keep locked in their piggy bank, that now at 19 years old, my oldest should have something more to come from that. I wish I had spent more time teaching them that. So that's one of the things that I don't know what's on the list or not, but that I wish I had learned much younger. Thank God for my wife. She taught me a lot more about finances than anyone ever had. And I appreciate her for that and the knowledge that she taught me with it. So what skills, and you can say this too, Walker, what skills do y'all have now or wish you had now that you wish was imparted upon you when you were younger?
Yeah, money management was one of those things. You know, my dad is like, you want something, go out and earn it. Go out and earn the money to buy it. And he did impart some saving skills, but never really put things like investments or any of that stuff. It just, I picked that up on my own. And now my daughter has learned some of that. My son is like, I got money, I can go, and it works for him. But my daughter is actually she has a retirement account and she's only 22 years old.
Well, that's awesome.
And
for her.
every
Good job.
every check, she puts money in that account, the same amount and I told her, I said, you start that now. By the time you retire, you won't ever have to work again in your life. So she's taking that to heart. I mean, she's saving that. So that's one thing, but the only thing she ever listened to me, but
Yeah, I think for me, I wish I would have learned communication a little bit better. Just this whole setup here was very difficult years ago before I started my own business. Once I started my own business, it was do or die. You got to communicate with people or you're going to drown quickly. But I wish I would have been relayed that and maybe pushed in a certain direction to learn how to communicate. Not only just communicate effectively and not lose your cool, not just be drowned out in the rest of the conversation and stay on point. Things like that, It's gotten better over the years and it still needs improvement. I will say that.
And I think a lot of teenagers and stuff, they're scared to talk to people. Most teenagers in that are very shy. Public speaking just bothers them.
Well, it's not just teenagers, Renee. When you look at what is the number one fear in the United States?
Public speaking.
People would rather die than address the public. And now when we think public speaking, you know what the average crowd size is? 5 to 7.
Really?
Like imagine, and there was a time whenever I was terrified of that kind of thing, talking in front of 5 to 7 people and you would get sweaty palms, sweaty pits, nervous and everything else.
I learned as I got older, it means nothing. I can stand in front of 2,000 people and just talk, and whether they laugh at me or not, I don't care. When you get old, you just don't care.
Well, I don't know if it's not caring. I think more of it's understanding who you are as an individual, and communication is massive. And I recently was a guest speaker in front of, I would call a small crowd. Justin was there for that. It was at SHOT Show in Vegas. And I mean, there were 50,000 people outside the door, and I wished there were more inside. And I got nervous for it. And I told Justin that. I was like, look, I got nervous because I felt like I didn't deserve to be on the stage. I felt like I'm surrounded by people with doctorates and plus 40s and all this other these subject matter experts in the field of suicide prevention and psychology. And I am just a guy. But we all have our purpose and our role.
But you got to realize one thing. They asked you to be there and speak. Those people asked you to be there and speak. Obviously, there was a reason for that.
Well, and that's something we all need to realize is that we all have our own right. Justin, I see you got something on your mind, brother.
I just wanted to add to what Renee is saying. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that everyone there knew who you were. How many other speeches have you given where maybe 15% of the people who were there knew who you were?
Very true. And look, when we look at the moments in our life when we have to address a group, address a crowd, and we talk about it in our concealed carry classes, we talk about it in our situational awareness classes, 7% of communication has to do with the auditory words, right? With what you're pronouncing and saying. The vast majority of communication has to do with facial features, with eye contact, with posture, with inflection, with pitch. And these are things that I did not learn growing up. So to your statement, communication is a massive thing that I wish that I had been taught as well. And I get jealous when I talk to like Kavan, who he started going through debate when he was like still in diapers, right? Which was up until probably 6 months ago.
Right.
But it's very important to have
and
that
soon
skill.
to be again.
So, Justin, do you have any skills that you wish the younger you had known?
Yeah. In fact, actually, I kind of took it upon myself to learn that skill, not but a few years ago. UL Continuing Education was offering Cajun French. I took 3 semesters of it. The instructor's name was Kirby Jeanbon. He was a very good instructor. I regret not learning that language from my grandparents because they all spoke it. It's a dying language. It's something that I wish that I can pass on to my kids. It kind of pains me to see that language dying, but I really have no regrets, not learning certain skills from my parents. They actually taught me pretty well on how to work hard. And my dad also taught me a lot of things like playing a guitar, building a campfire, hunting and fishing, that kind of relieves the stress associated with that hard work, because ain't nobody in this room sitting here right now says, I don't get stressed out from hard work. We all do get stressed out. So I appreciate what I learned from my father to get away from that and enjoy time spent with family and friends, hunting and fishing and camping, sitting around a campfire and having a good glass of whiskey.
And dude, I think that it's something big that you bring up, the ability to work hard, because of all the things you can teach your children, I think the ability to work is important. Not necessarily manual labor, not necessarily computer programming and all the other stuff that's out there, but the ability to work hard, whatever it is, work hard. And I tell both my children, I don't want anyone ever to say they don't know how to work. They won't be the best, they won't be the fastest, but they better learn how to work.
Be productive in that work, and work hard towards that endeavor, is to be productive. You can ask Caleb. If you ever see me in the shop idle, playing on my phone, I'm always on the go. I even tell the other guys that work there, when I'm done with my morning tasks up front, I'm like, I'm going in the back and I'm going to be productive, because that's where I feel most useful, is in my shop doing my gunsmithing work.
When you get to see the progress, because there's all the other juggling of everything else, and I'm sure with everyone else knows too, with owning a business and going through, you're like, well, I got to do this, now I got to do social media, now I got to do this, now I got to do advertising, now I got to respond to these emails. Oh yeah, I'm doing 10 things in front of me at the same time. So,
and don't forget, drink a cup of coffee. That's important.
Several.
Why are you doing that?
So that you have all these hats that you wear, and it's the ability to work is difficult. When I look at young kids or young men, young women nowadays, we've had a few apply at the shop, and we have to specify, if we're hiring, must possess the ability to work, because that's hard. And Justin, I'm really I love the fact that you brought that up.
Do you find that a lot of young people come in, don't make it?
I think that a lot of people that exist today want to coast, and unfortunately, we got to coast right into another break. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. I'm not Kevon Bordelon. If you want to hear who's here, if you don't recognize my voice, everything else, go back to the first segment. Check us out on every which way you can check us out on. I think that we're on X, we're on Insta, we're on Facebook. We have
Spotify, YouTube.
Do we have is it Rumble? Do we have a Rumble? Is Rumble a thing? Yeah, it is a thing.
It's a thing.
It's not a social media presence.
You might be on it.
I don't know.
A lot of podcasts are on it.
Does
A lot.
Tug, are we on that? He don't know either.
You
Only
think
Kevon knows, and he ain't here to tell us.
you think as the co-host I would memorize and learn this kind of stuff, but Kevon makes it too easy on me.
Well, he does all that.
So he does a good job. I give him props on that.
He
I
is
really
the
do.
social butterfly.
So So we've been talking about skills that we wish we had learned, from communication to hard work and everything else. And there's actually a poem which goes back to the movie quotes, right? And I've read the poem here on the show before, and it's If. And If, to me, is just a phenomenal poem, and it sums up what it means to be a man. I'm not going to read it now, but if you want to really have a poem that goes well with biblical theology, with everything else, with how to raise young boys and how to convert yourself from a young boy to a young man, read the poem If. It breaks down a lot of great information. And one of the skills that I think that I had to learn, and I wish I had been taught as well, is the ability to relate to people. One of the lines is, if you can associate with all, but none too much. It means a lot. The ability to relate to people, but none too much. To be able to communicate clearly and find common ground. And when I first started hunting, a good buddy of mine, when he was teaching me how to clean a deer, because I had no clue what I was doing as a grown man. I'd never cleaned a deer before, right? And we went to this ranch. I shot my first deer, and the guys were going to clean it. I'm like, look, I'm not going to let that happen. I want to clean this deer. So I grab my knife, I get up there, and I'm like, I have no clue how to clean a deer. Who wants to teach me? And look, pride could have easily gotten in my way, and I could have butchered that animal that I just killed and torn up the meat, torn up the hide. And a good buddy of mine, Chase, took the time to sit there and work with me and teach me how to clean that deer, how to work with it. And we communicated the entire time. We communicated on finesse, just enough strength, just enough pull, the right way to work certain things. And that being able to relate goes back to communication. I think it's really, really important. There's so many moments in our life when we're doing certain things, be it smoking a cigar, fixing a gun, machining, engineering, designing, whatever it is Walker does. There's so many points in time when we can just use that moment to relate to somebody and help them know that they are loved and listened to is very, very important, because that's all any of us really want. We want to know that we're loved, and we want to know that someone is paying attention to us, because the ability to relate to one another is something that I think is lost today. It really is, especially when we're being divided by this political system. I think there's more unity happening now, but there's been so much division, and we get broken down into all these classes that we allow ourselves to be broken down into, that it's nice just to be unified.
Well, and yeah, we're being pulled apart, but I don't think it's people that are doing that. I think it's the media that's doing that. A lot of that is just
Fear mongering?
Yeah, that's a good term to use. That and the vocal, very minority, or very vocal, and it makes it seem like there's a lot more of them than there really are. I mean, like all the trans and DEI stuff that they're doing, it made it sound like, half the population was in that group.
I'm gonna go down. Well, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Peace and harmony have no place in society in this day and age. So
No.
that's the purpose driven by the media and social media.
There's a little bit of rabbit hole here. There's a clip of Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you'll watch him at all, but there's a clip of Jordan Peterson talking to a woman, and she's talking about how she is so fortunate because of her circumstances, and her children are suffering because of the new policies and the executive orders, because she has one child that's trans and one child that's pansexual, right?
Okay.
Do you know what pan is, by the way?
It's nothing.
It's nothing and everything. Fly
Right.
by night, right? Like one day Walker's attractive, the next day it's just his fingernails that are attractive, and then today it's that Apple laptop. So I digress.
But
that's the pan part. Well,
Wait, with all the executive orders, I didn't hear of him signing
No.
anything that did
And-
away with any of that.
and there hasn't. So this woman was talking about her children are suffering, and Jordan Peterson did a great job. And he's like, ma'am, it's roughly, and I might be wrong on the numbers, so please look them up and look. Email Walker at what is it? Me.com.
yeah.
And and let him know that I'm wrong. But he's like, look, it's 1 in 7 million are the odds that you have a trans kid. And pansexual, which has become a term that's used more frequently now, is about the past 3 or 4 years. It's roughly 1 in 9 million. And then to have 2 kids of your bloodline in your house at the same time, the odds were like 1 in 302 million or something like that. He goes, the odds of you being a narcissistic, horrible child-eating parent were like 1 in 700. And I was like, oh my God, I love. Now he can get really wordy, but man, it's good. He does a great job. But I forgot where I was going with anything and everything. I really did. It happens. Happens to all of us.
Went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Too
yeah.
deep.
It's a good rabbit hole, I guess.
Yeah.
There's so much for us to work on.
Well, along with being relational, I think empathy is lost out there.
Oh yeah.
We can feel how we want to feel towards whatever way, but putting ourselves in those people's position, how they feel, how they're treated, can make a difference in how they see us as well as how we treat them. There's 2 things people told me at some point that stuck with me. Being empathetic goes a long way. And how good would the world be if we all did the cardinal acts of mercy? And those two things stuck with me. The way I look at other things, I may not agree with your lifestyle or how you're acting at a certain moment, but if I can try to put myself in your shoes and be empathetic to your feelings and how you're going, what you're going through, maybe it'll give you some grace and at the same time give me some grace.
A great way to bring us back to, by the way, because it's understanding the difference between being empathetic and sympathetic, right? Because you can understand how someone feels, but not their situation. You can understand the pain of loss, the pain of discomfort, the pain of ignorance. I've felt that sting quite a few times, but you don't necessarily have to agree with them. And the division that we have, it's horrible, especially when we look at trying to bridge the gap. And when we try to bridge that gap, when you look at the House Republican spending bill that was recently passed, bridging that gap, it had no tax on, now there's other stuff in there. I haven't gone through and read the whole thing or done anything else, so please do so. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anyone else's word for it. Educate yourself. Had no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. When they voted on it, 217 Republicans voted yes or yay. One Republican voted nay. 212 Democrats voted nay. Not a single one said, no, this is a good idea.
Yeah, but how many? Also, there were some that
3 no votes.
no votes. Yeah.
That's what that is that they said, it's better for me not to vote
That way
than
they
to go
can't-
against my party.
They can't hold it on my record. But now, how much of that you think that the Senate's going to pass that? That went through the House,
I don't know.
but the Senate's got to do it. And we got a majority of the Senate.
We do. And look, the chances are there. And when you look at starting the economy back, the American dollar is not worth what it was.
No.
When we look back and look at the housing market, look at everything else. We had talked about cars a while back. A 1967 Corvette today is worth what it should be worth, right? When you look at inflation and everything else. But the new ones sell for 3 times what they should sell if the cost of manufacturing was the same.
Right.
So inflation exists and it's left us all behind. So let's reset the dollar or make the dollar worth more. What I mean by make it worth more, don't tax tips. Don't tax overtime. And as someone, look, if I got paid overtime as a business owner, my business would go broke.
Don't
because
tax,
of the amount of hours
don't
that I
tax
work.
Social Security.
There's no reason
Because
to tax it.
You're
It's all-
paying
yeah.
tax on a tax that you already paid.
You already paid into it, and the government's wasted that money. They did not invest your money wisely at all. And yet they're going to tax you on the money that they squandered and spent on other things.
Yeah.
It
that's
makes
crazy
no
to
sense.
me.
When you sit down and look at the amount of taxes we actually pay, you have an inheritance tax, you have a real estate tax, you have a sales tax, you have an income tax. There's so many things. When you actually add it all up, we live in a pretty daggum socialist place that taxes us by 40 some odd %.
Well, that and there's taxes on taxes on taxes.
And they're going to tax us to death. And they're going to tax us right into this break. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. I'm Caleb Morris. This is the last segment of the first hour. That's right. There were 2 hours to this show. When we first started doing 2 hours, I was like, my God, 2 hours is just too long. And now I'm like, man, that's second hour. That's where Walker puts in work.
Now you need, and now you're trying to get a third hour so we can drink more whiskey.
And that's why I really think we should do that Patreon. I think that we should have a Patreon account, and it should include all this other stuff.
Oh, that bonus content.
Yeah, the bonus content, the
Yeah.
stuff where Walker bleeps me out, cuts me out, says, Caleb, you can't say that on the air. I think I've heard you've told Kevon that, haven't you?
Like you?
No, that-
Caleb can't say something on the air. Yes, multiple times.
That he can't say things. Or is it just me?
I believe it's just you. I think everybody else knows the boundaries.
You're racist. That's the go-to term, right? That's
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
everyone
it is
says.
nowadays.
you're beardist. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Beardist with that mustache over there.
Yeah, he's
Now, this is for a Mardi Gras thing?
anti-beard.
Yes.
He's
It's-
anti-beard.
I'm on a float on Mardi Gras Day. It's disco. I got an afro, glasses, a shirt.
What does Kennedy
chain.
think about the mustache?
Gee, I mean, She didn't have a choice, but
Does
I
it
don't think she
tickle at
likes
all?
it.
Or?
She doesn't have a choice. Oh wait,
Oh,
no,
that-
wait.
I didn't
Did
hear
you
that
just
part.
say that?
Wrong.
Oh my God, dude.
Wrong.
So this
Dude,
goes
that's
back.
the wrong thing. You don't ever say a woman doesn't have a choice on that.
This goes
Oh,
back
you're
to
gonna hear that?
things
Oh,
our
my
parents
God.
should have taught us is communication.
Yes.
And if there's anything I know, it's that Moon can communicate, right?
Well, look, practice this communication, Walker. I'm sorry.
Yes, I didn't
Oh,
mean to.
I've said it once
I-
or twice or about a million times.
I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking.
So to harken back on what we were talking about, I don't know if y'all participated or anything else. Our congressman for this area of Louisiana did a digital town hall the other day. You could call
No,
in.
I got the call and I was just busy. I couldn't do it.
I ended up on the ride home. I called back in and listened to what he was talking about. And going through, you mentioned something off air. We were talking about the spending bill and what was proposed and no tax on Social Security. And one of the things that Congressman Higgins said was that he wants to make sure that he protects those in the state of Louisiana that need protecting, the poorest and the elderly, which when you look at the state of Louisiana, when it comes to economics, we are struggling. Our education is low, and I think we're what 40th in nation overall we're 40th out of 47 in education.
Oh, we've moved up because it was between us and Mississippi between 49th and 50.
Well, so when you look at our nation, we're one of the most ignorant nations in the known world with educational systems. We spend the most per capita, and then when you look at us as the nation, the state of Louisiana,
nation.
are second to last or last place. It's us
Right.
in Mississippi, back and forth every time. And we're like, well, what can we do to make this better? So we have a problem with education. We have a problem with finances. We have a problem with state supplemental pay and everything else. Well, and no tax on Social Security, you think people would be begging for.
Yeah.
And that's something that could impact the elderly who live off of Social Security for the most part, especially in the state of Louisiana. When you think of the work and the effort they've put into, I know people, we have customers that come in that still are well into their 70s and early 80s that work. We have friends of ours, Justin and I, that are well into their 70s and 80s that still work. And look, if I'm working at that age, I want it to be because I want to.
Not because you have to.
Not because I have to, but I think that the average American today, you have to.
Well, I mean, just the cost of goods. I mean, the cost of food now. The inflation has gone up, and a dozen eggs is crazy. You got to go borrow money to buy a dozen eggs now. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
If trucks ran on eggs, we'd be screwed.
Oh yeah.
I was on my way home yesterday, and it was a little young fellow on the side of the road in my neighborhood. I live out in the country. He had an egg stand.
Yeah.
Now you see lemonade stands.
Yeah.
He had an egg stand.
Well, I know-
$7 a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of people I know. My sister has a flock of chickens, and she sells eggs. I hadn't talked to her about if she's going up on her eggs or not.
Didn't she just buy a new car?
Yeah, a new Cadillac. No, she's always done that. My sister, my oldest sister, is kind of like a hippie chick. She raises her own vegetables and raises her own chickens. And
There's nothing
ducks,
wrong
and
with that.
She loves it, and hey, because there's been a few times I said, hey, can I buy a dozen eggs from you? Yeah.
Well, and that goes into back to the first part, things we wish we'd have been taught, is how to be self-sustaining and self-sufficient. We used to have, at one point in time, we had like 35, 40 chickens, and we would slaughter them, pluck them, eat them, have eggs. Justin, you also have chickens, don't you?
He actually died a couple of weeks ago, so we're waiting until Tractor Supply or Atlas gets more.
And look, it's worth having chickens because now they make a mess, but learning to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining, chickens, rabbits, all these things
And
are
if
phenomenal.
if you live in the
did they
country,
die
it's
to the
not
tune
bad.
of a gumbo?
Unfortunately, no. We don't know what it was, but we lost 7 chickens in 48 hours, and there was no signs of predation. We're getting off topic here, but
Yeah,
But being
you got
self-sufficient,
the bird flu, man.
I got,
Yeah, it could be.
got the bird vid.
The bird vid.
Like
And that's why most of the chickens disappeared, is because they had to kill flocks off because
when you do the math, I sat down and watched some videos, and look, they could be fabricated, right? About chicken farmers, professional chicken farmers, and I've seen some of the chicken houses and everything else. where I think there are 33 or 330 million chickens in the United States. And when you look at the number of flocks that were killed, it's less than 3%. Look it up. I might be wrong.
Coincidentally, that sounds like one chicken per person
It's not much.
because there's about 330 million people in the United States.
So it's really not much. And look, if you have one chicken, good luck getting a dozen eggs.
No.
It took
A
us
chicken will lay during laying season will lay an egg about every day and a half.
Yeah, when we had 30, 35 chickens, we were getting about 18 to 2 dozen eggs a day, right?
Yeah.
And then you would get eggs, and then you'd go a few days where there are no eggs, and you got to find eggs, and you're like, oh, I wonder if this one has a chick in it. But so it's tracking all that kind of stuff. But you always had meat. But my grandparents had a garden, they had all this other stuff. And when you look at now, I don't know if y'all have seen the videos of people going out and talking about why we hunt. Why do they hunt? They can just go to the grocery store and get a steak, get ground meat. Harvesting animals the way we do, the way Justin and I do for sure, is way more ethical than many of the slaughterhouses. And most of the slaughterhouses that exist do it very ethically. But to go out and harvest your own game, to skin it, clean it, work it, and eat it that day when it's at its freshest point, that carries it like it's a spiritual moment. And to go out and even to pick your own eggs, to go out there and risk these angry little chickens that and smack you on the hand, you know? Like my kids used to be scared to death of it.
We had this conversation earlier about purpose. Hunting and raising a garden or raising chickens, it gives one a sense of purpose that has a benefit to feed your family. And I did some research not too long ago. I actually found out that vegetarian is an old Indian word. It means poor hunter.
I can believe that. I can believe that. And there's something, when you look back in the day, everyone had a garden.
Yeah.
Everyone had a garden to augment.
Growing up, my dad put a good sized garden every year.
And
And then sometimes do a fall garden.
yeah, and for us, we always had squash. And even now in our house, we had squash, we had zucchini. We had a number of other things to help sustain us throughout it because there were certain things we just didn't want to buy. But unfortunately, we didn't buy more time. So this is what, the end of hour one? If all you get is hour one, call, complain, write a letter. You know what? Write your congressman. See you again for hour two. Welcome back to hour two, which is after the first hour. This hour brought to you by William S. Nacall. Go see our friends over there. I have no clue what their address is, but Google knows, Waze knows. Is MapQuest still a thing? MapQuest knows. That's how.
Most people don't know what MapQuest is, but I think it still exists, I think.
Try it.
Yeah.
Google MapQuest. But go see them. Go see Grant and tell them they're great people.
I'm just amazed. You remembered my address, but
did.
don't remember Grant's.
No, and look, that's because
You can only do one at a time. I understand.
you know how long it took me to memorize your address?
Yeah.
I've been saying it to myself every day. I've been reciting it to myself every day.
My
So
God.
it's that's how much I care.
For 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Look, there's so much things for me. There's so much nonsense for me to remember. It's there was a movie, going back to movie quotes. I don't remember the name of the movie, but there was a guy. It was about aliens, and it's a guy named I Duddits, and he gave these people different psychic or psychological gifts, and one of them they would go in and organize their brains in these massive big filing cabinets and drawers. And I looked at that, I'm like, man, it's so neat. It's so tidy. If you could look in my brain, you would be like, wow, there's 2 tornadoes, a hurricane, and someone's breaking bulls at the same time in there. It's pretty impressive how I juggle it, right, Justin?
Yes.
So I don't know where we were going at all.
It's organized chaos, right?
Yes, it's organized chaos. If you move any one piece of paper from my trash can, I know where it was 2 years later.
Yes.
But-
I'm like that.
So I saw all that to say I don't know their address, but look them up, find them, and look. We have all these wonderful radio stations, all these other locations throughout the state of Louisiana, and then wherever you're listening to us, listen to us, enjoy us. I've never once mentioned New News. I apologize, New News, our weekly whiskey sponsor. I'm sitting here drinking. I got to turn to it. High and Wicked. If y'all notice, we didn't do anything on the Morris whiskey rating scale. We didn't do how much would you pay.
We're drinking leftovers.
We're sampling all this wonderful stuff that we
Because-
have set aside.
Yeah, I mean, we get a new whiskey every week, and sometimes we don't finish the bottle, sometimes we do, but we got a lot of unfinished bottles, so we decided that we're just going to go through the cabinet.
Well, I brought something up here that I knew Justin would enjoy, and that's an Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel.
So I've been fortunate to, well, let me rephrase that. I remember a long time ago, the Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel was one of the first that was sampled here on the podcast. And at the time, it was unobtainium. Now it's everywhere. And it is one of my go-tos, one of my absolute favorites.
You know, and there's
If I'm
so much
not
good stuff out
mistaken,
there.
we did that at a live at your store.
Probably.
It wasn't Elijah
I'll take-
Craig. We
I'll
did
take your word
one of
for
the
it.
first lives we did at the Rustic. We were on a Saturday morning sitting around the big
Oh,
table,
yeah.
and I think Elijah Craig was the one we did.
It's crazy when you look at like how far we've come, and I don't know if I mean that sarcastically or not. Poor Walker doesn't know the modest beginnings that we had.
Yeah,
Like our original microphone was literally a plastic. No, it was a paper cup with string.
right. Yeah, yeah. We had the paper cup. Then we went to the plastic cups. I
Yeah.
mean, we upgraded.
It had better depth, better
yeah,
tone.
and then went to the cans.
And then here we are. You know,
Yeah.
it's we've been doing this for almost 5 years, and it's been a great thing, and we've affected so many different people when it comes to charities and everything else. And I can't just fathom the opportunity that God's given us to do what we do. And I thank y'all. I thank all our sponsors for everything else that y'all have done to get us to where we are, and the fact that people just listen to us.
It amazes me because I got customers that come in the store all the time and ask me, "What whiskey did y'all do this week?" And I was like, "I don't know. I wasn't on that week. I wasn't on this past week." But now, we did all of them. My answer this week is all of them.
And there's so much good stuff out there. When you look at how many bottles we have,
Oh my God!
we have so much good whiskey, and you don't have to spend $100 on a bottle to have good whiskey.
No.
I was talking to a customer that came in the store today, and I'm like, look, man, for $27, there is great stuff out there. The dollar sign that you pay doesn't necessarily mean what you drink. There's just phenomenal stuff out there,
Yeah.
from the Ezra Brooks series to Evan Williams series to Elijah Craig to Heaven Hill to Blanton's to the barrel stuff we've had, the Pinhook, the Penelopes. There's great stuff out there. Now, there's crap stuff too.
Oh yeah.
But try it.
I can only recall maybe 2 reds I've given in the 4.5 years.
Every time I look up at my wall, I see 2 reds that we did. I have double stickers on them, double red. And I'm still
But
scared to death
there's
of those
only
bottles.
I can only recall 2 reds in 4.5 years. I mean, there's been a lot of yellows, but more greens and blues, I think.
We've had the pleasure of having some pretty amazing sauce.
Yeah.
We really, really have. So all that to say, go out, try stuff. Find what you enjoy. If you want to try it, no one's going to judge you. I don't
And when you
care.
find something great, email Walker at
Hey, email Walker at, can I say your last name?
I'm sure they already know it, but no.
All right, so there's a bird. It's like a bird, eagle, horse animal, right? What's that animal called?
A griffin.
It's so close. It
It's a
sounds
griffith,
like
huh?
it sounds like that. And then whatever his first name could be at iCloud.com. We'll try that.
Yeah, that one's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll email him. We'll try that one. But look, go out. This New News does a great job with us. New News has such an extraordinary
Oh, my
selection.
God.
And there's so many places, wherever you're listening to us at, if you don't have a New News to go to, go somewhere local. Find something.
Go to your local store, and if they don't have what we're talking about, ask them for it.
Yeah.
I found a bottle of Eagle Rare at a gas station near where I live for $33.
And that's look for them.
Yeah.
Go out, do some searching. All these
And
guys.
that's a decent price. That's what it should sell for. But because it's almost unobtainium, they jack the price up.
Oh, yeah.
at a
The
lot of
wife and I
places.
go scuba diving in Florida once a year, and everywhere in Florida has Eagle Rare, $100 a bottle.
Yeah,
I
it's
refuse to
just-
buy it.
That's crazy.
You know,
That's just
it's worth whatever you'll pay. You know?
Right.
And it's finding that thing you enjoy. And I like to go out to New News, and I'll talk to Aaron, I'll talk to Francisco, and I'm like, look, what's new? What can I try? And if I don't recognize a bottle, let's try that. Because I don't know what I don't know until I don't know it. You know?
Yeah.
Kind of like when we talk about superfoods. I sent a topic out, and it blew my mind. Because when I think of superfoods, I think of like truffle Gouda cheese. I've learned to like cheese. And when you look at some of the benefits that some of the cheeses have, mental clarity, ketones even, that's a superfood if you can find it. They're disgusting when you taste them, but it does a lot of good for the body. I mean, that's the fuel for the brain. And there's always new buzzworthy superfoods. I mean, can y'all think of anything that has come out, don't say what it is, but that has come out that y'all thought or learned was a superfood?
No, beets.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Antioxidants and nitric oxide is full of that. My wife is going to kill me for this, but she's always said that it's only people from Paconya that eat beets. You know? But I love it. But yeah, those are great for blood circulation.
Mm-hmm. My wife was talking to me about cow brain and the benefit of beef or bovine thyroid. And look, I'm not a liver guy, but liver is a great food as well.
Well, cow brain, you got to be careful with all the mad cow thing that you don't hear
but you're
about
not
that
eating it
anymore.
raw. You're not eating it raw.
You don't hear
can
about
cook
it
out.
anymore. But for longest time, you could not get brains of any animal like that because of the mad cow, and I haven't heard any more about it. I don't know if they've cleared that, or like for the longest time, you couldn't. Caffeine was bad for you, but then now they're saying drink more coffee.
Well, coffee
wine-
black is good for you. Not a bunch, but coffee
but
black is good for you.
wine is bad for you. But then they found in the dark grapes has got something in there that is good for you. And
Look, Jesus himself drank wine, so don't tell me that I shouldn't.
well,
right?
that's true.
And he would have drank bourbon if we had bourbon back then, I think.
right. They hadn't invented it yet.
Yep. But he, God put it in someone's mind, and now we have this wonderful brown liquor.
Yeah.
I think tenderloin. I think that tenderloin and backstrap has to be a superfood. I don't care what y'all tell me, but it's delicious. It's got to be good for me.
Well,
But-
doctors will tell you if it tastes good, spit it out.
Valid.
You're supposed to eat all that stuff that tastes bad.
Like
That's
chicken
good
feet?
for you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not eating that.
Yeah. They ain't a lot of meat on chicken feet,
No.
though.
But when I saw this superfood, I just got a little nauseous. I'm not gonna lie. I felt it in my stomach. It blew my mind because I thought it was a joke, and then I started looking this up. I started doing research, and if you're driving, prepare yourself. Wait. Oh, look, there's a red light just in front of you. 3, 2, stop. Good job. Cockroach milk. Cockroach milk is a superfood?
How, Caleb, explain to me how you milk a cockroach. I picture this woman sitting on a little short stool, reaching in there and just trying to milk a cockroach. How you do that?
Is he doing the gestures?
He was doing the
Come on,
gestures.
you gotta do the
Yeah, you got to do the.
And his hands are closer together. He knows the size. Like you're doing hissing cockroaches over there.
Yeah.
He's doing a little he's doing tree roaches.
Yeah. How do you milk a cockroach?
It's got to be harder if there's the flying kind.
Well, yeah, you got to catch them. You got to catch them first.
It
I just
man, it and look, Jonathan, you read it. Like you look up online, it was like a 3 a day?
2.5 a day is what it's
2.5 a day.
2.5 a day. Yeah. So
I mean, how much milk are you actually getting out of that cockroach? Like a tablespoon?
Not enough to make it worth my while. I tell you that.
I never in my life did I look, and it's female cockroaches. You okay? You gave me like cockroach eyes. I was like, are they attacking me? Never in my life did I look at a cockroach that went by and think, delicious.
okay. Now I have to ask.
Let me milk
How did they find that out? Was
it's-
there some type of government grant,
Had to be.
federal government money
Had to be.
And okay, is
Which will
Elon
which-
is Elon gonna turn Doge loose on
It will
to find
soon
out?
be exposed.
Yeah, how they found that out?
Look, this is South Louisiana, right? We will eat almost everything.
We will eat stuff out of a ditch.
I've never looked at a roly-poly and thought, if I boil enough of those, they'll be delicious. Look, I've had crickets, I've had grasshoppers, I've had
Ants.
June bugs, I've had ants.
Ants taste like lemon.
I've
You know
had.
that?
I don't think I've eaten possum. I've had armadillo. What's some of the weird stuff y'all have eaten that you can say on the air?
Bear, rattlesnake, copperhead snake.
Okay.
We've had raccoons.
There's a lot of glands
had-
in a raccoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see you thinking of over there, Jonathan. And Justin's like, I've had some pretty odd stuff too.
Coyote. I've eaten. we've
Really,
eaten-
a coyote?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking of a lot of things I eat, and I'm like, is that weird? And I'm like,
Oh yeah. But when you look at like boudin balls, a boudin ball is nothing crazy, but like other people think we're strange. Ponce. Like I'm not a big
Stomach.
fan of ponce,
Yeah, it's
but you know
stomach.
what? Like I've eaten that.
It's stuffed stomach.
I'm
is
not a
what
big
it
fan
is.
of cow tongue. We've had cow tongue.
Oh, I've had good cow tongue. If
I
it's
mean-
made right, it's really good.
I mean,
Really?
boudin is traditionally stuffed
Blood
in
boudin.
Well, yeah, but regular boudin is traditionally stuffed in pig intestines.
Yeah. And
so
good luck finding the non-synthetic or a real blood boudin. You can't make that anymore.
yeah, you can. Very, very few slaughterhouses because they have to have an USDA inspector on site when they make it.
Well, that's
There's a few traditional slaughterhouses that will still make blood boudin.
and there's when we look at all the weird things that we eat in South Louisiana, and then when I was like cockroach
It's-
milk,
it's
I was
not
like,
weird.
"Rrr."
It's not weird to us. It's weird to everybody else.
Yeah, it had to be a grant.
Yeah.
I didn't know cockroach had teats.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like little cockroach
No.
babies? Like
Oh,
milk?
wow.
Like,
No, I have
What
not.
was that movie? Jay's
not.
Apartment or something like that?
oh, this little cockroach with
Yeah.
the Spanish accent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's our place now. I never once saw that. Like I never saw any cockroaches nursing during that movie.
No.
That's the extent of my cockroach knowledge.
Well, usually if I see them, I'm stomping on them, so
Yeah.
I don't pay attention.
So it just blows my mind. It had to be someone in the government said, you know what, we're going to give $5 million.
That's the same guys that
I would
that had-
overcome the cockroach problem that
That's
I
probably
have.
the same guys that did the shrimp on a treadmill thing.
And it's just, who are the, like, look, knowing, when I
Who
eat
even thought of that?
when I eat something, you think they told the people, like, do you think it's a liquid or is it like a pudding? It's an insect. So
I think the article referenced some kind of crystallization of it.
oh yeah, it did. It did. It was like a salty. You put it on things. It was like a
Correct,
solid.
correct.
So do you think they told the people?
so
They're like,
is
look,
it like cockroach cheese?
yeah, but do you think they were like Timothy? Timothy, today you're going to be trying this crystallized food. It's safe, good for consumption, and it's $100. We're going to give you $100 to eat this, and you don't know what it is. I want you to tell us what the consistency, the flavor notes. Look, we do it with whiskey, right?
That's
I
true.
can see the whiskey, and I haven't had cockroach whiskey yet, and I
No.
hope I never do. But like, do you think they were like, Timothy, it's cockroach milk. We want an honest opinion. Sorry, Bob. Not happening.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here. I did read the article. It says that particular quote unquote milk is more nutrient dense than cow's milk. So let's just say you can milk enough cockroaches to have X amount of dosage or whatever. I don't know what you call it. Would that preclude you, and this based on the conversation we had earlier, from having to take potassium iodide? They say cockroaches can survive nuclear fallout. If you drink enough of this, would you be like somewhat immune to radioactive fallout?
Would you become Superman?
Now
You know, I don't-
to drink.
I don't think I could do it.
I don't intend on going
don't
through a nuclear fallout, so I don't think I have to worry about that.
Yeah, I don't think.
Hypothetical situation.
Like, even if I held my nose, I don't think that I
No.
could do it knowing what
No,
it is.
not going to happen. I've stomped on too many of them. I'm not going to drink their milk. Not going to
Just-
happen.
I think that's the line. Like,
I mean,
you know,
I've eaten bugs. I ain't eating a cockroach.
Have y'all seen the billboards that say "Where's the line?" and it has like chickens, pigs, cows, horses, and dogs, right? Like they're like, "Where's the line?" And someone's like, "Right here. There's the line." Unfortunately, the line's right here as well. So we'll see it again for the second segment of Hour 2. Welcome back to segment 2 of Hour 2 of Implicit Bias on whatever medium and method you're watching and listening to us. We appreciate you being out there and enjoying this time with us. Hour 2 brought to you by William S. Nacall. And we're going to keep beating a dead horse, and that's cockroaches. I missed it. I should have said keep beating a dead cockroach.
Keep stomping a
Yeah,
dead cockroach.
I missed an opportunity. And Walker, you should have just capitalized on that and done something with it. And I appreciate you for snapping back because I've been ignoring you, and I apologize. Yes, Caleb, it's okay. I'm here for you. I'm here.
He's
for
on
you.
camera
No
now. You
hand
don't have to
checks?
do. You don't have to
Yeah.
do the sign thing.
Yeah. But I just can't. I was trying to look up the price. So it's not available for direct human consumption yet. But
It hadn't been FDA approved,
it has not.
or well, actually, that would probably be USDA approved. Department of.
I would hate to have the same people that
because ag
that
products
stamp
like
my
that.
meat, stamp my cockroaches.
Well, I mean,
It's a
it's
much smaller stamp. Much more
FDA
tedious.
does foods and stuff, but this would be probably an agricultural product.
Well, I think this opens a whole new avenue, though, for businesses. Like, imagine, how many acres do you think you need to be a successful rancher? Okay? If you want to raise...
Oh, if you're raising cockroaches,
Cat- yeah.
dude.
If you wanna
2 by
raise
2
cattle. Yeah, you
a
wanna
2 by
raise
2
cattle.
foot, 2 foot by 2 foot, man, you could have thousands.
Yeah, if you want to raise cattle, you need 100, 200 acres to have a good little herd
Yeah, you,
that you can slaughter
at least,
and work with.
At least an acre per head.
Well, here with cockroaches, you can do it in cubits.
Yeah.
A cubic foot, you can probably have 100.
Yeah, easy.
Oh, absolutely. A Shaquille O'Neal shoebox will do you well. man.
Yeah, but bruh, that's a big shoebox. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, imagine the space because now you have what microgreen farmers. Speaking of that, what's a microgreen? I really don't know, to be honest with you. It's like the little baby sprouts, but it's like special sprouts.
They harvest them early,
Yeah, it's just early. So like, can you?
like
Yeah, but
herbs
in like
and
certain
herbs
herbs
and
and all that?
carrots, even carrots and potatoes and that they'll harvest early, so they're little. They're not
So it's
full
ju-
grown.
so it's not a microgreen. It's just a premature green.
Yeah,
It's an abortion of the greens.
right. Well, I mean,
And it's- like that just seems like a waste of time.
Well,
I
then,
wonder if they pay you
also,
extra
I've
for
been
the
watching
lower
a-
yield.
I've been watching. They've been doing a lot of this farming where it's vertical farming.
Yep.
They grow it so you can grow. You know, you got a 10 by 10 space, and you can grow. You know, an acre of plants because
you
you're
have the
going up
hanging
10.
gardens.
You're
It's like
going 10,
hy-
12 foot, and it's all hydroponics.
Hydroponics. That's how they grow certain things that people smoke, right?
Yeah, kind of like that, with special lights. and
Just
stuff.
had to
Walker, do
communicate
you-
with you on my level.
Yeah,
Do you eat like microgreens and micro beef? Which one's your sound button? I don't know which one's your sound button, but you're going to figure it out eventually, and you can respond to the question. But until then, I'll just keep buying time.
No, something sounded weird in my headset.
Was
Trying
it
to
the,
figure it out.
was it the voices?
yes, it was that. It was your voice.
No, it wasn't my voice. Like, it's the other voice.
Microgreens.
It's the other voice in your head.
It was you.
Oh, okay. So, are you big into microgreens? It is. It's an echo. I hear it now.
You hear it?
Yeah. Are you big into microgreens and all this other stuff?
Big into microgreens.
What is a microgreen?
Did you not just hear?
No,
everything
I
we
was
talked-
trying to figure some things out on the board.
He wasn't paying attention.
Oh my god.
There will be a test later, Walker.
Oh my god.
I'm
Tug,
failing.
Yeah.
do me a favor, Tug, and write today's date down. All right, Tug. Like just write it down. Left hand, perfect. Yeah. So I don't know when that became a thing. Like what
Yeah.
happened to just having a
Greens.
farm and greens and everything
Yes.
else?
Why does it have to be micro?
Maybe I should raise pygmy cattle.
I think the whole thing with microgreens is it in the young state it's an enhanced flavor of.
Oh, because it's more
It's
concentrated.
more concentrated. It's more defined.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's so they can charge you more.
Yeah, I mean, I had it on. I had it on a biscuit
I'll
the
go
other
with
day
that
with a
one.
hollandaise sauce, and it was microgreens, and I was like, and I tasted more hollandaise.
That's the new
So,
yuppie.
you know-
yuppie. I can charge you more. That's all it is.
Maybe that's what they'll call it. They call it micro milk. Oh, it's not cockroach milk. It's,
It's
micro
micro milk. Yeah, because who's going to drink cockroach milk? But if you market it as micro milk.
Well, when you look at like all the fluids that we drink, I'm a big fan of apple juice, orange juice, pog juice, pomegranate, orange guava. All this, like, there's a bunch of great things out there, and I don't really drink milk like I used to. I used to love milk.
Corn juice, rye juice.
I like rye. Yeah. And I liked whole milk because to me, if you're going to do it, do whole milk. Don't get the skim.
Or the chalk water.
And then we are one of the few. Well, we are the only animal I know of can think of
that drinks another
species milk.
Yeah,
and like we've used goat milk for making cheese and all those other things, and you use milk to make cheese, butter, and all these wonderful, delicious things too.
Or another plant's milk.
Yeah.
I don't know. They call like almond milk and
It's not-
soy milk. That's not
It's
milk.
puree.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
not
a puree
milk
and water.
because
It's the
there again,
oil.
how do you milk an almond?
Gently.
Yeah,
I didn't know an almond had teats.
yeah.
So it goes into like, at what point, look, God said go and have dominion over the earth. And then at what point is he be like, whoa, pump the brakes. Like,
Okay, too much.
they're
dominion.
eating cockroaches.
Yeah, too much dominion.
Yeah. Like, come on, people. There's not really a massive shortage of certain things. It's just we are over consuming, because I think that's one of the biggest problems we have is we over consume.
Yeah.
Justin, have you and I ever eaten at a buffet together?
I think so.
And like, I am a waste of a buffet because I don't want to eat till I'm full. I hate the feeling of being overstuffed and full.
I can remember a day where I used to weigh over 300 pounds. And I would go to a buffet and I was like, I'm getting my $10 worth. I'm getting mine and somebody else's. But now it's no.
Yeah.
You
I
can't
eat-
do that no more.
I eat until
just
I'm
can't. I
satisfied.
can't. Yes.
Until I'm satisfied. That's all I really want. That's all I really need. I don't need to overindulge and overconsume on food.
I'm tempted
I will
sometimes.
do it a little bit on whiskey.
When something tastes good, I'm tempted.
Oh, I'm tempted. Like, I love bacon. I love beef. I love steak. I love Wagyu. But there has to be the line where we're like, you know what? That's enough. Put it in my to-go box. Or as we say, a doggy box.
So a flight at Lester's like that. Is that like a bourbon buffet?
That's a valid point. Valid point. $15 to $20, and you get a little bourbon buffet, and you can
Yeah, but
get
it's
your
not
money's
really
worth.
it's not really a buffet because you got to pay for every flight.
Okay, all right.
You know, a buffet is normally
buffet
you get
sampler.
you get free refills
Yeah.
on a buffet. This is the price is very, very reasonable.
Yes. Yeah.
Extremely
Beyond
reasonable.
reasonable.
Oh yeah.
And that's why like a buffet is just a waste on me, because if they have good steaks, I'm gonna eat
Till you're-
6 to 8 ounces.
Till you're full.
6 to 8 ounces, not
Yeah.
until I'm full, until I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the problems we run into, especially when we look at these superfoods where now we're talking about eating cockroaches.
How many cockroaches
At
would
what-
you have to eat?
Yeah, at what
To
point
be
are we
satisfied.
satisfied? Because we're looking to try to fill this void with everything to include cockroaches.
Would one be enough?
I think one would be more than enough.
One would be too many.
Forgive my ignorance on the microgreens things, but at the SHOT Show, we went to the Jocko Fuel. Is that
Yeah,
what they call
yeah.
it? And I grabbed a little packet, the sample of powder, and it was like super greens. Is that microgreens?
Yeah,
that we're
they're
talking
in there.
about?
It's going to be freeze-dried microgreens and other things. And we look at all. We have invented more food than we can consume. I want you to think about the last time you were out going through the woods or trekking or anything else. When did you come across wild broccoli and cauliflower?
Never.
Broccoli is a man-made.
Boom! You picked up what I was putting. These are not natural items.
Yeah.
We made these. We genetically and engineered our own vegetables because of
Corn,
God-
too.
Yeah, but well, the original corn was very different than what we have now.
Right.
And chickens.
When you go to have your own chickens and you look at how the meat looks and everything else, it is way different than the size of the chicken you get at a store. When you think of a chicken breast, like Walker, all right, make sure you came back first. How big is a chicken breast?
Like
Like you use your hand, like reference to your hand. How big do you think a chicken breast is?
it's probably honestly a little bigger than my hand.
About B cup.
So a real like homegrown chicken, the full chicken breast is legitimately like
It's small.
the fingers. It's probably 4.5, 5.5
Yeah,
inches
but
The
wide.
is
stuff
that-
you buy from the store, the broilers, is a man-made thing. In fact,
Yep.
those chickens won't even survive.
They'll die
Yes, unless we.
unless we slaughter them. They grow at such an exorbitant rate. We have just pumped them up with so many steroids and everything else.
Well, turkey. I mean, they've bred turkeys to where their majority of it is white meat. That's not natural.
Yeah. And we're missing out on all these nutrients. If you want to get back and really have a superfood, grow and harvest your own food.
Or go harvest.
Yeah.
Deer, wild turkeys,
Duck,
Yeah.
dove.
Yep.
yeah.
It is not financially feasible to have your own chickens. In terms of eggs,
Yeah.
I've done the math. The amount of feed it requires, and then you got to build your coop and blah, blah. It is actually cheaper to buy eggs from the store. Well, not
Yeah, but
anymore.
also
but
chickens, though, you can free range
the
chickens.
eggs are more nutrient, and that's why I choose to buy the feed to raise my own chickens because
you-
the eggs are more nutrient.
But really, if you have a big enough pasture and you can you can fence it off well enough, you actually don't need to feed chickens.
You don't have to.
They will.
This is true.
They will eat.
You can
out
set
of
it
the
true.
pasture.
There's a benefit to that because they reduce the population of fleas and ticks and other insects.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched chickens slaughter snakes, frogs, mice.
Yep.
And we
They're
slaughtered
vicious little creatures.
we slaughtered this segment. So what, the penultimate's next? We'll see you again. Hang on, sit tight, be right back. God, Walker jumps right into the deep end. Welcome back to the penultimate segment of Implicit Bias. Brought to you this hour by William S. Nacall. I appreciate y'all listening on, I think that are we finally on VHS? Do you know what that is?
That's not even a thing anymore. I don't
I
believe.
thought it was Betamax.
No, I guarantee
Yeah.
Walker doesn't know what Betamax is.
Yeah.
Do you have any clue whatsoever? Any idea?
No, is it
You
like
know-
a VHS?
He don't know
No.
what a reel-to-reel is either.
Beta-
Or 8-track.
Betamax was
I've
the
heard of
was
an
the
8-track.
big,
I,
You-
believe,
you've
I think
heard
I
big
know.
DVD,
what-
right? Was the Betamax was the big DVD?
No, it was actually smaller than the VHS.
Which one?
The small VHS.
Which one? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Which one was the really big DVD that was like 18 inches?
Oh, that was a laser disc.
Laser disc. Yes. Sorry,
know
I
a
got confused.
I know a guy that still has one of those. It's neat.
Yeah, those things were cool.
It's like a
It's like 12
a
inches
big,
or something.
No, it's the size of a vinyl's coming back. It's the size of a 33
Yeah.
RPM vinyl record.
Yeah.
Same size.
I remember like doing classes on laser disc. That's how we would do school sometimes. We were high tech in the 90s.
You was fancy.
Yeah.
5.5-inch floppy on a green and black monochrome screen.
Oh, baby, now you're speaking my language. So we've kind of been all over the place where we talked about things we wish our parents had taught us, skills we wish we had learned, to advice we wish we'd had, to spending bills, to cockroach milk. And I kind of want to keep going with the dead cockroach theme, but in a different area. And when we talk about superfoods, man, there's something to be said about harvesting your own animals. And we've been talking about chickens and all that. And if you want to get into being self-sustaining and self-sufficient, chickens and rabbits are really easy to get into. Both are disgusting. Like that's the God's honest truth. When you talk about being self-sustaining, there's some pretty disgusting things that happen with it. Chickens just defecate on everything under the sun. And have y'all ever had rabbits by chance?
Yeah, we raised some rabbits. We had wild rabbits. I lived out in the country. We'd go hunt. I'd hunt rabbits regularly.
That's not too common anymore. Walker, y'all ever raise any kind of animals?
No, my grandparents did, but
Like sea
didn't.
monkeys or was that not
no,
enough? No,
I did not raise a sea monkey.
The hamster you had as a kid doesn't
I had
count.
sea monkeys.
No.
But rabbits spray on everything and all that stuff,
Yes.
and you can rotate through rabbits pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And have a really good what's it? It's a buck and a sow.
Yeah.
What a rabbit?
Yeah. You got one buck and a couple of sows, and bro,
Yeah.
you got some rabbits.
Oh yeah, and that's a really good sustainable meat source, right? And the right
you
kind
know
of
what?
rabbits.
And it tastes like chicken.
tastes way better than chicken. Way better. If you take rabbit,
Wild rabbit does not taste like
No.
domesticated rabbit.
and I'm gonna jump down this one. You take rabbit when you clean it, flay it back, debone it, pound it flat. fry that in beef tallow.
That's like a country fried steak with
Way better.
Way better. Yeah.
Way better. And we were talking about it earlier. You know, whenever you're self-sustaining and other things, it was hard. If you went to your grandparents' house, there was always bacon fat or beef tallow or something sitting on the kitchen stove. Well, there's no other kitchen stove, so it's the stove, right? So I was always just sitting there, and we knew how to use it. If you could have started gravy, a handful. You didn't. I don't think my grandmother ever got a spoon. Now that I think about it, it was just dip the hand in there, in the pot, cook it down, and there you go. That's how it was.
My mom.
What is a measuring cup?
Oh
Yeah. Well,
If
my
you're a
mom-
Cajun and you cook, yeah.
Grandma.
My mom used to keep an old coffee can not on the stove, next to the stove, because if you put it on the stove, it was always melted. She would put it on the side of the stove. That way it would harden up. But yeah, you'd cook eggs, you'd cook anything. You needed nowadays you take the bottle of cooking oil out of your pantry and pour it in there. My mom used to just sit there and take a spoon and boop, pop it in the frying pan and go.
Yeah, you're not going to see us. We'll use a little bit of olive oil, but you don't see me get the almond seed oil and all the. No, we're not doing that. Sesame seed oil. No.
Is it almond or almond?
I pronounce the L. I do. I pronounce.
So why isn't it not salmon? Burley loses his mind every time we do this.
That's a great question.
Salmon. Does the S make the L silent?
S stands for silence, so sure.
Oh, okay.
But if you undercook your food, you get salmonella.
Ah, but
Oh,
ooh, man,
yeah.
that's pretty. I think we just waded into the deep end of the blue hole.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're not using sesame oil and all that. Like if we don't have some bacon fat, like some bacon tallow or beef tallow, like it's straight butter. And we don't use margarine. And growing
No.
up, my grandmother used margarine. She used country crock. You didn't know what was leftovers, what was margarine, or what was ever. Like it was a surprise every time you opened one of those tubs.
So speaking of harvesting your own meat, I had a bunch of duck breasts from when we killed our ducks, and I wanted to cook it. And the wife says, "But you got to soak it in buttermilk to get rid of the gamey flavor." So I bought a bunch of cartons of buttermilk, soaked my duck meat. We made some jalapeno poppers, popular Cajun meal. And the wife's like, "What do we do with the rest of this?" I'm like, "I heard you can make butter, like real butter, out of this buttermilk." And she puts it in this, not a blender, but
We use
A
a
mixer.
food processor,
Yeah,
a
some-
mixer,
Yeah,
everything
mixer.
else. KitchenAid.
A stand mixer.
that was the first time I had homemade butter, and she salted
What?
it. That was the first time.
I legit have butter molds.
And I was cooking eggs with it. It was fantastic. It's like, I'll never touch country crock again.
Well, when
yeah,
you have,
what you do is get whole milk. Do that with whole milk and put it in a blender or a mixer and sit there and just whip it until it separates.
you can do it
And-
salted, unsalted.
Oh, yeah. Unsalted is the best.
You know, and it's going back to learning how to fend for yourself. You know, and when you go through and you harvest a deer, a duck, a pig, whatever it is, and you really go from field to table, not farm to table, field to table. It tastes different.
Yeah.
It does.
What's amazing, I mean, when I was a kid, we raised our own chickens, we raised cows. And every year my dad would have one of the calves slaughtered. And I did that a few times a couple of years ago, and it's amazing the difference in meat. I would buy a calf from one of my buddies that would raise cows, and you cook that meat versus something you buy at the grocery store, the amount of water and stuff that comes out of the meat you buy at the grocery store, and it just doesn't taste the same.
You can smell it. So like
It does not taste or smell the same when you're cooking it.
Justin and I use the same processor when it comes to wild game, right? And if we're making a burger and I use some of the wild game that we've killed, you can smell the flavor. If I go to the store, and look, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not buy meat from Walmart. That you're not buying meat. You're buying, I can't say it on the radio, chicken lips and something.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you can smell the difference. It's fake. It's not real. It's filled with all this filler and the synthetic material and everything else. So, when you process and clean your own animals, you get a high quality meat. And we've gone through. I don't know if you've got an animal yet, Justin, where it had a tumor inside, like the rump roast or the shoulder roast or anything else. We take that, we cut it out. We don't process it. We don't want that in our consumption. You know what they don't do at the big processing plants?
They don't take that out.
They don't take that out.
Grind it up.
They can it and they bottle it. So when you think of canned meat, say whatever brands you want to say in your head. I'm not going to say because I don't know unequivocally,
Well,
but that's what's in it.
that's a grade of meat. Is
Canned meat.
cutter,
Yeah.
canner.
Well,
Yep.
it all goes back to the simple word of processed.
Yeah.
My wife hates that word, processed. Any processed meats, any processed hams, any processed vegetables. None of that is eventually good for you at the end of the day.
No.
Yeah, I mean, and look, it's good to have some things set aside for worst case scenarios, right? Canning on your own, awesome. My grandparents used to can, used to jam, they did everything on their own, and they kept it. But you shouldn't live daily off of canned beans, canned fruits, cans this, cans that.
Fresh is good.
Fresh is the best
the
thing for you.
best,
And
yeah.
if you can grow it yourself, it's even better because then you're impacting the environment. The
You
bees.
say growing yourself. That's,
Grow it
that's
yourself.
the ticket. You know, we talking about processed meats and actually harvesting meats, but the same thing is applied to vegetables and
Oh, yeah.
and vegetation all over the world. You know,
And you don't need a big garden.
absolutely not.
A
you
row
know,
or so of each vegetable, and that's
Yep.
enough.
you know, at one point in history, meat was reserved for the higher class of people.
The
So
elites.
the lesser people got nothing but vegetation. And some of those people were gladiators. You know, there's a great documentary. The name escapes me right now, but it talks about the natural diet and the plant-based diet. And one of the guys is a world champion powerlifter, and he's won multiple Olympics and competitions, and he's strong as an ox. And the people say, how can you be as strong as an ox when you're a vegetarian? And his answer is, have you ever seen an ox eat meat?
Look, and I would probably eat an ox. I probably would. You know, and it goes into the amount of food that you consume, how much you consume, the manner in which you consume it, because the more we cook it down, the less you get. So don't let us get cooked down as we come back for the final segment of Implicit Bias. Welcome back to the final segment, Implicit Bias. Look, if you're listening to us on, if you're listening to us not on terrestrial radio, if you're on podcast, thank you so much. If you were listening to us on the radio, call the station that's near you and say, why aren't we getting the second hour? If you haven't heard us on radio, call your closest station and say, we want the show. We want Implicit Bias. Find us on implicitbiasradio.com. Reach out. Look, Kavan's going to answer you, and not me, because I'm not fancy enough to get an email address. But he will reach out to you. Walker won't, because Walker's email sounds like we don't say it on the air. But call him at 337. I don't know his number. I don't get that
Yeah,
number.
337. That's what it starts with.
Oh,
So,
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So call him. You can find him.
BR549.
Find him on Facebook too. Private message him there. He loves that stuff.
do not message me on Facebook.
Yeah. No, go
Do
ahead.
not message me on Facebook.
He responds to every last one of them. Yeah. But we've been sitting here talking about just getting back to the pure form of things, you know, and what we have is the process part is everything it's so far from the source. And when you get closer to the source of certain things, you start to realize the benefits of things in their purer form, such as your faith. The closer you get to God, you start to realize the relationship with God that He yearns to have with you. The closer you are to your father, your brother, your sister, your wife, and your brothers and everything else, your brothers in arms and so forth, the more you realize the relationship that you want to have with them and the level that it is, because it's at its purest form. It's not watered down. It's not processed, not mechanical. The machine men with machine minds and machine hearts, back to movie quotes. Does anyone know that movie quote?
No.
The Great Dictator. That is Charlie Chaplin. Wonderful movie. Check that
Oh,
quote
wait.
out.
That's one of those movies that I saw that had the words on the bottom.
No,
of it.
that one, he says words.
Oh, what?
It's the only
Oh, I
movie
missed
that
that
I know
one.
of where Charlie Chaplin speaks. Great movie. That quote, look up Charlie Chaplin, Great Dictator, and look at that quote. It's phenomenal, especially in today's time. But the more a machine touches it, the less pure it is. When we get to our coffee, when we get to our foods, we get to our vegetables, everything else. If you can raise it yourself, grow it yourself, and be self-sustaining, the difference it'll have on your health is massive. Your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. It's a huge, huge thing. And when you have a balanced diet, it's wonderful.
It makes me wonder that, a lot of these foods that are super processed, they're actually cheaper than the foods that
They sure are.
are not processed. It's like right out the field to us.
Well, and
why is that?
is
Is
that
that
by
because they
design?
want us to do? Yeah. They
is
want
it-
us to buy more of that processed?
Is it a happenstance that a 12-pack of soda costs less than a gallon of water?
Yeah.
Or is that by design?
Yeah. Makes you wonder. Things that makes you go,
I mean, that same 12-pack of soda's got water in it. You got to have some. But you know what? People want us to eat certain things, want us to behave certain ways, dress certain ways, because it's easy. It's easy to control ignorance.
take certain pills for things that they don't cure diseases.
No, it
they
masks
treat.
it.
They treat diseases.
And if we look at back in the day, when you go back to our parents, our grandparents that lived for 100 years in some cases, they didn't eat stuff from a can. If they didn't kill it, they didn't eat it. And the shotgun that your daddy used, the shotgun that your grandpa used, it put meat on the table. It served a purpose for more than just collecting dust. So whenever we get people that bring firearms in, and I'm sure Justin will attest to this, when they bring them in, they say, I've only shot it 5 times. Man, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I shoot my shotgun more than 5 times at one duck.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get these people coming in with these old guns, and they think they have something of value, of great value. What they don't realize is the gun's really worn out. Their grandfather, great grandfather used this as a tool to feed their families. The guns that we buy today, we buy them to occasionally go to the range with, or for serious hunters. The duck shotguns get more use than the deer rifles, but these old guns, they are absolutely worn out because it was a tool to feed their families.
I got one of those. My grandfather's shotgun. It's unfireable. I mean, it's so
And that's
loose.
wonderful.
You can take. It's a double barrel with dog ears on it, and I mean, you can sit there and the gun does this. He wore it out.
Well, when I look back at some of the best conversations I've had, it's been at the duck camp and the deer camp, because we're out there, even though we don't have to go there and hunt and do everything else, we're providing. And to provide for your family, to come home and say, look, I got 7 squirrels today. Squirrels aren't very big. 7 squirrels, that's a great thing.
You know, some rice though.
You do a squirrel and dove gumbo. You do some dove breast wrapped in bacon and jalapenos. Man, it just means a lot because it's the environment and it's the experience. And when you put food on the table that you caught, you trapped, you grew, it means a difference. You know what you put on there. Well, look, it's just water. Normally not, but it's just water. It's just this. It's just that. You saw it. You raised it. You harvested it. And it has a profound impact upon your health. Not just your physical health, but your mental and emotional health.
Purpose.
Purpose and drive and passion. It's a phenomenal thing. I mean, we had my niece's nephews over years ago, and we had a bunch of chickens, right? And our garden, we had a raised garden area. And look, my little nieces and nephews, they're country. They live out in Lawtell, right? And one of them, poor little Addie, stepped on one of the baby chicks. Do you know what happens when you step on a baby chick, Walker?
Probably dies.
That's close to Justin, was that you? Or, that's close to the sound it makes. And she was so heartbroken to step on a little nugget like that. And that's how she learned about life and death. That's how she learned. My boys, we'd go out and, hey, look, this chicken's the one that's got to go. It's time that we have to harvest this one. And with deer, with duck, with everything else we do, man, it's life lessons every time you go out.
I mean, it's you harvest hopefully the weaker animals so the stronger survive.
You know, and that's why when we go out and looking for deer and everything else, there's certain ones we pick, there's certain ones we choose, so that you get the right ones out of the gene pool and so forth. But there's something to be said about raising your kids in a world where you can just go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You can pay $5 a pound for ground meat, or you can do it for yourself.
And there's people that believe that, milk comes from the grocery store, ground beef comes
And not
from,
cockroaches.
comes from the grocery store. They don't realize there literally is some people that don't realize where meat comes from, where eggs come from, where milk comes from. It amazes me.
And everything we consume at one point was living,
Yeah.
be it vegetable or meat. It was at some point living, and we have to honor and respect that. The same way we honor and respect each other's time, the same way we honor and respect each other's future. So take some time and do something good for yourself. Learn a trade, learn something, and be something more than someone sitting on a couch. Until we see you again, this has been Implicit Bias.